You want me to read or you?
No, why don't you read? Hey, guys, people are waiting in line in Poland for 3 days in little cars. People are sitting in the heat in their tractors, trying to get coal to get ready to heat their house. Stacey's going to read us a story from that, and this thing's really starting to snowball. It's going to it always happens somewhere else first.
Yeah, we have Germany also. There's a heat drought going on. We have Europe right now.
Yeah, they're going to lose 50% of their crop.
Crisis, yeah.
Overall crops, 50% down. That's just one article. I'm going to look into that a little more, but that's just hard for me to believe. 50%? They're going to lose half of their food?
That's what it said.
I really hope that's not true.
Me too.
Get into the articles and let's
Yeah, it said, so the late summer heat, dozens of cars and trucks have lined up at this coal mine as householders are fearful of winter shortages. They are waiting for days and nights to stock up on heating fuel, and they're waiting in queues. And these queues, they're selling their queue. So they're actually saying, okay, you can get in my queue if you'll pay me so much money. And so they're actually having to go out and also, I guess, kind of monitor that also. But people are sleeping.
So people are selling their spots in line.
Yes, they are.
So they get a number, and that's your spot in line, and they can get tired of waiting and sell it.
They sell it. Yep. They said, this one guy said, it's beyond my imagination. People are sleeping in their cars. He said, I remember the communist times, but it didn't cross my mind that we would return to something even worse.
It was like 45 to 89, I think.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't that long ago, 1989.
Nope. They said 3.8 million people in Poland rely on coal for heating, and now they're facing shortages. And this is still summer in Poland because they're scared that they're going to face a shortage. They're already lining up and spending days and nights in trucks, cars, whatever you can to get coal for the winter. That's.
Do you think they saw that coming? That's what I wonder all the time.
I don't know.
So we were watching. Can't remember the name of the movie. 1917.
Oh, that was a good movie.
Yeah, it was a war movie, and it was based on a guy's grandfather told him these stories, and anyway, he had to deliver a message, and he had to go from across enemy lines on his side through enemy lines to deliver a message to another unit. Anyway, so as they were going through the movie, there was beautiful orchards and farms and beautiful houses, and I've got some footage from my grandfather going to World War II. And I wonder if those people thought for 1 second that they were going to chop down their orchard trees and shoot all their cows because they didn't want to feed, the other side. Do you think?
I don't know.
I wonder what they were doing as it was unfolding. Were they just sitting there idle with their hands crossed? Just not doing it, just worried about tomorrow, or did they do something to prepare?
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder about that when we're preparing for our stuff. What do we see coming? I don't know. Because some of these books that I read, which I'm a book nerd, I love to read books, some of them say they see it coming. Some of them say they do not. But some of them say that they do see it coming. There was very little they could do at the end to prepare to stop it.
Yeah, I guess there's a point where you can see it coming all you want, but still, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
You just do your best, Anyway, keep going. There's
okay, yeah. So there are also limits in place in Ukraine or the Poland now to prevent hoarding because they're selling. Well, as you said, they're selling their spots in the lines. It said this one guy even quoted. He said, "My tractor stays in line, but I go home to get some sleep." And he's been there for several days now, and they're just doing their best to get coal because they don't think they're going to have enough coal to go through the winter, and they're going to freeze to death because apparently most of it comes from different places. So
where are you at, Greta Thunberg? What are you going to do without coal?
So the next article that I came across was a global crisis, talking about Germany. 50% crops are likely going to be lost due to drought. They said crops losses of 50% are now expected in parts of Germany due to drought, farmers said they have claimed. So 50%,
yeah, I can't imagine
of crops. And you remember the conversation I had with the guy the other day. I mean, he even said here locally, we're looking at 70%. I mean, we're going to have 30% loss, but 70% still, but more than.
I don't know. I don't remember quite what it was, but I think it was down 70% at that time.
Yeah. Up to half of the crops in parts of Germany are likely to be lost due to drought. Wow, I can never say that correctly. Farmers in the region have claimed with problems due to the prices of fuel, fertilizers, and pesticide connected to the green agenda and the war in Ukraine. And so they're done. They've lost their crops.
This is going to be okay. So everybody thinks the food's just going to be gone, right? But that's not going to be the case. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Okay.
The price of the food's going to be so expensive, the food will be on the shelves.
But we can't afford
most
it.
people won't be able to afford it. The wealthy will still be able to eat. That's what happened in Venezuela. I was actually talking to Alaska Prepper about this, and there you can see pictures of the shelves in Venezuela, and they're slap full of food.
Yeah, but you can't afford it.
But they're so expensive. Well, they can't afford it. We could. But that's what's going to keep it's supply and demand. Food's going to be here. It's just going to be extremely expensive. That's why I still think you can beat the stock market by buying food right now. Get your year's worth, 6 months, a year. If you got a year, get 2 years. You know what I'm saying? That's up to you. But you can beat the stock market by buying food.
Very well could. Very well
No,
could.
we are consistently.
It said a serious lack of rainfall has led farmers to fear that there's sugar, beet, potato, soybean, all that. It's not going to return. You're done. There's no heavy rainfall. Harvest loss is going to be at least 50%. To make matters worse, they said, livestock farmers in the region are also now struggling because they can't even afford to feed the livestock, so they're tapping into the winter feed that they were hoarding for the winter food, and they're already going ahead and feeding the winter food. So they said they don't know what they're going to feed them in the winter. So it's going to be, sounds like...
It's going to be some skinny cows.
Well, it's kind of, we know even locally. We have locally people coming from Texas to Arkansas to go ahead and just slaughter the cows because they don't have anything to feed them.
There's a glut of cows that would... so we've been getting rain here, and our grass is going nuts right now. And I know there's a lot of people around here that are very thankful for that. So if we did have some pasture land, we could buy 2 or 3 cows, and deal with that. But we have a local farmer. Some of you heard my phone call with her, and it's a couple, super awesome people. And he does our growing for us,
right?
So that's probably not something that I'm going to get into right off the bat. But if you did have some pasture land that didn't have anything in it, and you were having some pretty good rain, and you were doing a little better off than these places that are in a severe drought, it might be a cool time to get into some cows because they might be cheap as they're going to get.
Or buy
I'm just
saying.
I don't know. I mean, I've never called the bottom of the market. It's not investment advice. I'm just saying. Usually the time to buy is when everybody's selling.
Yeah. So the third article I came across was about electricity. Here we go with the electricity grid. So the French and Germany, they are having problems with electricity. Imagine that. The price of electricity has spiked. It's surged more than 25%. They're holding some kind of emergency meeting because of this. They said the electricity for the next year in Germany and France is being reset. It's setting records almost daily. Anyway, they're taking drastic steps. They're limiting emergency use. It is supposed to jump in October, and they're saying that...
what does that mean? They're limiting emergency
They didn't say. They just said it's emergent. Futures have climbed for a 6th straight week, and they are limiting. It said they are limiting energy use.
Energy use. Oh, okay.
So I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're gonna have rolling blackouts. I don't know if they'll have where you can only use certain energy in certain time frame. I did hear something the other day where they said certain businesses were critical, so they would let them have energy, but things that were not critical, they cut their electricity off in certain countries. And I thought that was a little interesting. And that's been recently. That's been like in the last 6 months. If you were considered critical or not, whether you could have electricity or not. So they have the power to do that.
They're having a energy problem. Energy is in energy to heat their house.
Everything.
Energy to fuel their vehicles, energy it's all energy that's really It's going to kill that place. There's going to be a lot of hungry, cold people and some skinny cows next year.
I laugh. I shouldn't laugh, but it is true. But if you don't wake up and pay attention, and you don't listen, and you don't see what's coming down the pipe, then yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's what's happened on the other side of the world, and it's not noticeable here yet. It seems like it should be, and I know we're noticing things, but as far as just point blank going to the grocery store, it looks full. Everything looks like business as usual, but this year's crops is next year's groceries. This year's crops down, next year's groceries will be down. You know, there was not going to be as much. That'll probably bring prices up along with inflation. So if you don't have food, get it. Stick it on a shelf. Replace it in the back. Eat off the front. It's like having a grocery store at your house. It's really fun. It's not a...
That's
you
what we
always
do.
have food.
That's what we do. Yep.
So you want to send them off?
Huh?
You want to tell them bye?
Oh, no, that's your call, babe.
Guys, have an awesome, awesome day. Like the video and share. I will see you in the next one. Later.